Ready? I will call the regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen to order at 7:30 p.m. The prayer will be offered by City Clerk Patricia Pietzu, and Alderman Wilshire will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Wilshire.
Here.
Alderman Clemmons. Alderman Tenza.
Here.
Alderman Cookson. Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderman Karen. Here. Alderman Siegel. Alderman Schoeneman.
Here.
Alderwoman Melisi Gola.
Present.
Alderman McGinnis.
Here.
Alderman LeBrun.
Here.
Alderman Moriarty.
I'm here.
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderman McCarthy.
Present.
We have 13 members present.
Alderman Siegel and Alderman Clemmons are unable to attend this evening. Also present, Corporation Counsel Stephen Bolton and His Honor Mayor Jim Donchis. Does the mayor wish to address the board?
Yes, Mr. President. Thank you very much. In the past week or so, Nashua was recognized as being the safest city in the United States among 180 cities that were rated by Wallet Hub. They rated all these communities based on a number of criteria, not only the crime rate, but rates of insurance, health insurance, unemployment rates, and many other criteria. I think it's a great honor for us. That makes us feel safe in our homes and in our businesses. And so I think this is in recognition of what many people are doing across the community, not only in city government, but certainly our police department is a big contributor. We've got some members of the police department here and many other people who are working to make the community stronger. It's the holiday season, Mr. President. I wanted to mention some of the things that our departments are doing to celebrate the holiday season. Park and Rec held Santa in the Park on Saturday for I forget how many years. Alderman Schoeneman was there as usual cooking chestnuts, which was very nice. In addition, the Park Recs Department did the senior lunch at the Radisson on Sunday. 300 seniors were there and were able to celebrate the holiday season with Alderwoman Marianne Melitzi-Golia, as well as Alderman June Karen and other members of the city staff. The fire department is also doing a lot. They will be distributing coats, winter coats and boots for children at 5 of the elementary schools, and I think that's going to take place on December 21st. And then closer to Christmas, they will be distributing a whole number of turkey dinners to families who are in need. The police department will be working to distribute toys very near to the Christmas holidays. And in addition to that, the police department was very involved in our community center holiday party, which was held a week ago Saturday. Members of the department picked up 70 Christmas trees from the lot as rent for the lease that we have with the Christmas tree lot on Broad Street, and distributed those Christmas trees to 70 families in need or who could not otherwise afford the trees in the Crown Hill neighborhood, and were also involved in the holiday party that was held for families and kids at the community center on that same day. At the senior center, the Lions Club did their annual holiday breakfast. Alderman Karen was there, as well as Treasurer Fredette, who both are very involved in the senior center. They had the breakfast and they did the gingerbread house competition, which was really nice. And so there are many things that are going on with our departments and with, of course, many other independent agencies throughout the community to celebrate the holidays. I did want to mention, Mr. President, R 17160. I appreciate the endorsement by the Budget Committee of that resolution. It will help us to launch a one-year pilot regarding the recovery coaching project with Revive Recovery, and will help us to strengthen the community's response to the ongoing national opioid crisis. In any event, Mr. President, that's all I have, and I just want to wish, since this is the last meeting before the holidays, I want to wish each member and their family a wonderful holiday season. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any responses to the remarks of the mayor? Alderman Schoenman?
Thank you, Mr. President. Want to echo Mayor's comments about Santa Ana Park. I think it's a great event. And just to call attention to the Friends of Greeley Park, who co-sponsored that event with Public Works, Parks and Rec, to make that event possible. It's been going on for 9 years now. Next year will be the 10th, and we'll certainly plan on continue. Thank you.
Any other responses? Alderman Wilshire.
Thank you. I, too, would like to thank the Nashville Fire Department for donating the Operation Warm Coat opportunity to the boys and girls at Nashville Children's Home. So I want to thank them.
Anybody else? Recognition period.
There is none.
Reading the minutes of previous meetings, Alderwoman Wilshire.
Thank you. I move that the minutes of the Board of Aldermen meetings of November 20th and November 28th be accepted, placed on file, and the reading suspended.
Motion is that the minutes of the Board of Aldermen meetings of November 20th, 2017, and November 28th, 2017 be accepted, placed on file, and that the readings be suspended. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Communications, Alderman Karen.
I don't have it in front of me, but I have submitted a letter with the summary of expenses for the $25,000
We
that
need
was,
the motion for communications
don't
by
have-
title only.
oh, by title only, I'm sorry. I'll make a
Sorry.
motion to read the letter submitted for the summary of expenditures by title only.
Motion is that communications be read by title only.
Thank
All
you.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Communication from June M. Karen, Ward 7 Alderman, relative to the summary of expenditures, the Nashua Senior Center, Nashua Senior Activity Center.
Alderwoman Karen. Now comes the,
Thank you. For the past 4 years, the city, the Board of Aldermen and the city have been very generous with giving the senior center $25,000 to maintain and upkeep of the building at 70 Temple Street, which belongs to the city. And as in the past, we have put $5,000 in reserve, and we have listed all the items and projects that they have completed for this year, and a few items that are pending till after January. So, and they appreciate it very much because, as in the past, they hadn't done any painting or cleaning for almost 10 years. So it's really keeping up the work. So I appreciate it, and so doesn't the senior center. Thank you.
would you like to move to accept it and place on file?
Yes, and now I'd like to move and accept the communication and
Motion
place
is
on file.
to accept the communication and to place it on file. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Period for public comment relative to items expected to be acted upon this evening. No one has signed up. Petitions,
There are none.
nominations, appointments, and elections.
There are none.
Reports of committees. If there are no objections, I will declare the report of the Budget Review Committee of December 5th, 2017 accepted and placed on file. If there are no objections, I will declare the report of the Finance Committee of December 6th, 2017 accepted and placed on file. And if there are no objections, I will declare the report of the Pennachuck Water Special Committee meeting of December 7th, 2017 accepted and placed on file. Written reports from liaisons,
There are none.
confirmation of the mayor's appointments,
There are none.
unfinished business resolutions.
Second reading of Resolution 17-144, approving the cost items of a collective bargaining agreement between the Nashville Board of Police Commissioners and Teamsters Local 633 from July 1, 2017 through June 30th, 2020, and authorizing a related transfer of $15,428.
Alderwoman Wilshire.
Thank you. I move for final passage of Resolution 17-144.
Motion is for final passage of Resolution R-17-144. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries, and R-1744 is adopted.
Second reading of Resolution 17-145, approving the cost items of a collective bargaining agreement between the National Board of Police Commissioners and National Police Communication Employees, NEPBA, Local 125, IUPA, AFL-CIO, from July 1, 2016 through June 30, 2019, and authorizing a related transfer of $42,200.
Alderwoman Wilshire.
Thank you. I move for final passage of Resolution 17-145.
Motion is for final passage of R-17-145. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and R-17-145 is adopted.
Second reading, Resolution 17-148, approving an amendment to the lease and operating agreement with AVSG LP.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to make a motion of final passage of R-17-148.
Motion is for final passage of R-17-148. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and R-17-148 is adopted.
Second reading of Resolution 17-155, authorizing Pennachuck Corporation and Pennachuck East Utility, Inc. to enter into a long-term loan and fixed asset line of credit with CoBank and to refinance intercompany loans.
Alderman Dowd.
Make a motion for final passage of R-17-155.
Motion is for final passage of R-17-155. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and R-17-155 is adopted.
Second reading of Resolution 17-156, approving the proposal of Pennachuck Corporation to enter into a replacement line of credit with TD Bank N.A.
Alderman
McGinnis.
McGinnis?
Thank you, Mr.
Sorry, I couldn't find you on the script here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept for final passage R-17-156, approving the proposal of Pennachuck Corporation into a replacement line of credit with TD Bank.
Motion is for final passage of R-17-156. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and R-17-156 is adopted.
Second reading of Resolution 17-157, authorizing Pennachuck Corporation and Pennachuck Waterworks, Inc. to issue bonds and enter into a fixed asset line of credit with TD Bank N.A.
Alderwoman Melissa Golia.
Yes, I would move for final passage of R-17-157.
Motion is for final passage of R-17-157. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and R-17-157 is adopted.
Second reading of Resolution 17-160, relative to the transfer of $42,000 from Department 194 Contingency, Account 70100, General Contingency, to Department 109 Civic and Community Activities, Accounting Classification 56, Outside Agencies, for the purpose of providing funding to Revive Recovery, Inc. for a community recovery coach.
Alderman Dowd.
Make a motion for final passage of R-17-160.
Motion is for final passage of R-17-160. Discussion? Alderman Moriarty.
Two questions. I'm not sure who can answer them, but I'll ask the first one. Were there other organizations considered, and was this a competitive process to select this organization?
Mayor Donches.
Well, I proposed the resolution, so yes, I at least considered other organizations, but Revive Recovery has established itself as the most active and successful so far recovery organization in the city, and they also have received a grant through the state, a state grant via Harbor Homes, via the Partnership for Successful Living, so they seemed like the natural and best alternative.
Alderman Moriarty.
Ed, it was not a competitive bid and there's no documentation to justify sole source award?
No documentation to do what?
To justify a sole source award?
There was no competitive bid. I'm not sure there's anyone else who could do this, but there was no competitive bid.
Alderman Moriarty?
Second question is, do they take Medicaid?
They are qualifying to take Medicaid, but the reimbursement rate for a recovery coach service is very low, and once they qualify to receive it, will not provide meaningful financial support.
So they currently don't accept Medicaid?
Well, they don't. They have to qualify to receive and accept Medicaid, and I don't think that process for them is completed at this point.
Alderman Shoneman?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was not able to attend the Budget Review Committee when this was discussed, so if this was discussed at that time, please forgive me. I fully support this. I think it's a great idea. We need a recovery coach. It's a wonderful idea. I'm wondering how we're going to supervise this. This is a pilot program. How are we going to evaluate it in a year's time? Is there any measurement? How are we managing this?
Mayor Donches?
Yes, thank you. We are going to measure and manage it. The point is that there is certainly research and anecdotal evidence suggesting that assistance with recovery on a kind of hands-on basis greatly improves the likelihood of recovery and the chances of recovery. But in addition to helping a certain caseload who will be handled or worked with by this person, we do want to develop data and information regarding success rates, and all the experience of that is derived from working with a caseload of 20, 30, 40 to 50 people at the same time. So if you look at paragraph 4 of the contract, it suggests that the recipient, meaning Rive Recovery, will provide the city with monthly and quarterly reports containing identified aggregate information. Such reports shall at a minimum include data on the number of clients served, contacts with the clients, and the services provided to those clients. Initial intake data, client outcomes, and challenges will also be collected and reported, but without identifiable client information. Upon receiving each report, the city may require recipient to alter the report or collect different or additional data that would be more useful to the city. So what we really want are reports on how are people doing after 30, 60, 90, 180, 360 days, in addition to the number of people served, the number of people who have, just dropped off with unknown outcome, people who have relapsed, people who have come back. So we really want to be able to see in detail how this works and what rate of success and what the experience of the pilot program is. And the point of this is to not only so that we as the city understand what's going on, but if we develop sufficient information suggesting actual statistical support here for the recovery coach approach, then we can use this to persuade others outside the city, the state government, and others to add to and supplement this kind of program. We know that this kind of trying to deal with the opioid crisis is a kind of a work in process. The Safe Stations program, of course, we meet every 2 weeks and we evaluate how things are going. Different things come up and many adjustments are being made. This, I think, is a similar project. We will kind of see how things go and try to work with it as time goes on. You might have seen, in terms of just digressing into Safe Stations for a moment, that Providence started a Safe Stations program in the last week or so, in which they say that it is based on the model from Manchester and Nashua, New Hampshire, which they used, and they actually visited here and in Manchester to initiate their program.
Alderman Schoenman?
Thank you. Then are the reports going to come to the mayor's office or to the opioid task force? Who's going to evaluate the reports that are coming in?
I think the reports they will be aggregate data, so they'll come to the mayor's office, but if members of the Board of Aldermen would like to get reports, they'll certainly be going to the whole Safe Stations sort of guidance group, but if members of the Board of Aldermen want them, that's obviously no problem.
Thanks.
In fact, that's a good idea. I think we should distribute reports to the Board of Aldermen on a periodic basis so you can see what's happening. And there is very detailed data regarding the Safe Stations program, the number of people who've reported. We provided to the Budget Committee at the time this was heard copies of those reports just so you can see what's going on. Those are generated every 2 weeks. Anybody who wants those at any time can get them. They are generated, in that case, by AMR.
Alderman Dowd?
Yes, the Budget Committee unanimously approved this. We had 3 or 4 people with very compelling arguments discussing what's going to happen. What happens with the current program, we get the people to a point where they're recovered, and then we just say, okay, you're on your own. And that's why there are so many repeat offenders. And this program will give them a crutch so that somebody can guide them so that they can get off of the drugs entirely and not be repeat offenders. It won't be 100% successful. None of the programs ever are, but it would certainly reduce the number that we see coming back.
Alderman LeBrun?
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, it appears to me from the discussion, there appears to be some loose ends to this entire thing. It doesn't seem that it's received proper and complete vetting. At this time, I will be voting no.
Alderman Moriarty?
Thank you. The mayor's certainly right, and so is Alderman Dowd, about the idea of a recovery coach and the utility of it. The whole organization, Alcoholics Anonymous, Step 12, is based on that very fact. And there are hundreds of recovery coaches that work for free in Nashua. They do that for their own sake, to keep themselves, by helping someone who is also in recovery. One keeps yourself in recovery keeps yourself sober. So the idea that there's no alternative is not quite true. The most important thing is beds. So I've spoken to I personally know a few people that are in recovery and opioid recovery. The main thing is beds, so that when you decide that you want to recover, you need a place to go. Once you're out after 30 days, then you need a what AA would call a sponsor. Of course, AA, seventh tradition, states that all groups have to be self-supporting on their own and neither solicit nor receive funds. So even if the city wanted to contribute money to AA, they couldn't. So I'm a little ambivalent because I completely agree with the purpose. And this organization, Revive Recovery, from people that I've asked, they have a good reputation. They don't take private insurance, which for whatever reason tends to indicate it's a for-profit organization, but you don't know. I mean, these types of organizations, they don't make money. So I'm not assuming that they're out to make a lot of money. They're doing good work. There are other organizations like Revive Recovery in the area. Aware Recovery in Bedford, Keystone Hall, of course, could use a little bit of money. And there's Gate Houses, and not only that, so of those recovery-specific organizations that are out there, they're all equally justifiably able to receive the funds that we're presently sole sourcing to Revive Recovery without a competitive bid. We have other nonprofits in general that come in for the whole CDBG process. I mean, is the city of Nashua going to get in the business of hiring staff that do drug addiction recovery? Are we going to get in the business of hiring people to, at the National Children's Home. Why not give $40,000 non-sole source to National Children's Home? So it's just, maybe I'm not clear, but I am in support of the whole concept of a sponsor. The concept of a sponsor is to the very heart and soul of long-term recovery, without a doubt. But the mechanism and the process by which this organization was selected, they may be good people, and I think they are, but I think it should go, since it's government tax dollars, and interestingly enough, just this morning, I spent a couple hours taking Acquisitions 101 training, and the idea of sole source justification, you have to jump through hoops to do it. And the fact that we're spending tax dollars we need to be careful about this. And I would rather this be competitive and we consider other organizations, they bid on it, and then the money go out that way, or they come in through CDBG. So today, I'll be voting against this.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. President. My comments are not to convince anybody on a particular vote, not meaning that at all, but being at both the budget hearing on this matter and the Finance Committee, I wish you were there because I think you would have gotten a lot more information. But the information that I received proved that we're basically building like a puzzle. And we're fitting in particular pieces into this puzzle to get to the goal to help people who are affected by this type of crisis and to get them clean again. Now, in the budget hearing, where the three people showed up, I was very impressed with their professionalism and the information that they gave us. But I think they used the example of a place like in Providence, where they had many more than the one that we're seeking. So this one person coming in, it's sort of like the Dutch boy with the dam, but you got to start somewhere. The problem is here. The problem is now. It is not going away. So in order to stem the tide, I think we should support this. And the reason is because we're letting people go through the process. We're getting them somewhat cleaned out, but they need to coach. And it was explained at the budget meeting that for a person to get on the road to recovery, such as to figure out different daily type of things, or what bus to take to go get the job, are you working, or things that are happening in work, and instead of getting into a crisis type of situation, they can rely on their particular coach to advise them and to get them back onto the thing. Again, making them productive members of the society. So all this was presented, and it's definitely fulfilling a need in the city that it's part of the puzzle again. And I think I'm for offering full support on this based on the information of the two meetings I attended, that I feel quite confident that this is definitely needed in the city.
Alderman Lopez.
Yeah, I've been participating in the Mayor's Opioid Task Force, the Safe Stations program, and the Continuum of Care. And there isn't really a comparable program to this. The closest analogy might be Heart's peer support, but there is not a daytime walk-in center offering recovery support. There are periodic AA meetings and NA meetings throughout this city, which are an hour long. You go to those meetings, you come out, you do build connections, you do get a sponsor, but there are other treatment models, and AA and NA do not work for everybody. Revive offers an array of different models and programs and ongoing supports. They're cultivating new communities of support. Recently, they just had a forum and an organizational meeting for what to do for families that are trying to address what do you do when your son is an addict? How do you deal with that? What kind of supports are available? And they're trying to do things like cultivating support groups for the different populations that are most specifically affected. The need for beds is definitely one of the greatest elements, but it's also pretty well understood in the recovery community that if you just keep putting people into recovery centers and then you don't offer a transition out and help them build their own independence after they've gone through the process of detox and adopting recovery as a strategy, you're losing your investment. We can send people in and out all we want, and they can bill insurance all they want, but if we're not helping them rebuild their lives, gain employment, find sustainable housing, even rebuild some of the connections with their families that they've broken that will then later on help them build resistance to the risk of relapse, then we're losing the effort that we put in terms of finance, and we're really losing the effort that they put in terms of willpower. All the hours of counseling, all the hours working in the detox centers, it kind of does rely on this. And furthermore, preventing people from needing the long-term recovery programs by having them access recovery support programs like Revive before they get to the point where they need to spend 90 days or more in a recovery, in a detox center is huge, because we are not going to build the capacity for beds that we need anytime in the near future. We are going to pull out every stop. Everybody who provides these services, like Keystone, like Bedford, they're going to do their best, but it's a huge investment to build facilities with more beds and more trained professionals, more clinically qualified individuals. Whereas the recovery coach model deals with the group at the base level much more efficiently and much more effectively. There really isn't a comparable program to this. And in the Mayor's Opioid Task Force, most of the people who'd be bidding on this or competing with this in theory, choosing to devise or create a program that's comparable to Revive, have been talking about it for over the last 2 years and have not been able to do it because it's a specific need that hasn't been filled, and Revive has evolved specifically to fill that need. To my knowledge, they're not for profit. They're less than a year old. In fact, I think they had their ribbon cutting maybe 3 months ago. So I'm not really surprised that they haven't qualified for Medicaid or Medicare assistance, because those are not simple processes. It takes a lot of application time and a lot of vetting back and forth before you can qualify for that funding support. I think what we're looking at here is an opportunity for the city to identify an obvious gap that the Safe Stations program, the Opioid Task Force, and even the Continuum have all voiced that there's no real recovery, daytime recovery program, and to run one effectively, you need a peer recovery coach. So I'm definitely in favor of this. I see it as a very important missing piece of the puzzle. And while it's true we could kick this off until next, the next board takes it on, or until we vet it more thoroughly. And I don't necessarily know the strengths and weaknesses of that because I didn't attend the training on sole source funding. I think getting them up and running and getting them online immediately is a priority, because people are looking for recovery right now. They're risking their relapse right now. It's holiday season. It's a particularly difficult time for people trying to find sobriety. And I think if we have a resource sitting on the table that we could potentially deploy, we have to do it.
Alderwoman Melissa Gully.
Yes, just a question to the mayor. Mayor John, my understanding is that this is a one-time funding to kind of get the ball rolling and get the position in place, anticipating that in the next year they will be able to develop a budget that will support this position, but it's kind of helping them get their startup together. Is that correct?
That's correct. And the context for this is we have a kind of an evolving situation where we're trying to react as quickly as possible to new circumstances. So in the first year, we had 1,200 people report to a safe station and be directed into treatment, mostly through the Partnership for Successful Living. Now, they either go into outpatient, intensive inpatient, intensive outpatient, sort of just regular outpatient. They go into residential treatment at Keystone Hall or other treatment avenues. But several things have evolved. First of all, the number of people who are coming back for more than one time to a safe station is definitely climbed to the point where it's about half of the 80 to 100 people who are reporting every month. Now, this isn't a big surprise because it takes, according to the experts, an average of 3 attempts to get into long-term recovery. But this is something that jumps out at you when you're looking at this all the time. And one gap in all this is that when someone goes to Keystone Hall, for example, which is the Partnership or Harbor Homes, and they complete their 28 or 30-day inpatient program, they don't actually, there is no further service. You're done. I mean, not that they don't care, not that they would like to help, but they don't have the capability, they don't have the resources. So a person is just released to the world. And A person who is 1 month into sobriety is still suffering severely from a serious brain disease. If you listen again to the experts, you know that it takes a year to 2 years to recover sort of fully normal thought process. So after a month, many people are still confused. They have difficulty. They're still got a lot of strong urges to relapse and may have trouble thinking through daily decisions. Where do I get the bus? How do I get a bus pass? Where could I look for a job? How do I find an apartment? Because if the person goes right back to their previous circumstance, if they go live with the derelicts that they were living with before, the chances of relapse are very, very high. And therefore, this, based upon an evaluation and a kind of an approach adopted not just by me, but by everyone that's involved in the safe stations, the fire department, the harbor homes, AMR, the hospitals, as well as others, seemed like the best way to fill a gap in the short term to try to respond to a changing situation. We do have still 30-some fatalities every year, this year. Even though overdoses are down by 25% or so, there still in 2017 will be over 35 fatalities. And therefore, it seemed that the necessity to respond quickly with a pilot program working with the most successful and really only ongoing recovery program in Nashua made sense rather than to try to bog this down with months of red tape and review and RFPs and all of that. The idea is to respond quickly and effectively to a situation that we see evolving and which is changing on a fairly rapid basis.
Further discussion? If not, the motion is for final passage. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
Alderman Tenza.
Yes.
Alderman Cookson.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Karen. Alderman Shoneman.
Yes.
Alderwoman Milizi Gola.
Yes.
Alderman McGinnis.
No.
Alderman LeBrun.
No.
Alderman Moriarty.
No.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman McCarthy.
Yes.
We have 10 yeas and 3 nays.
Motion carries and R-17-160 is adopted. Unfinished business ordinances,
There are none.
new business resolutions.
First reading of Resolution 17-161, amending Nashua Rail Transit Committee.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion the rules so far be suspended as to allow the second reading of R-17-161.
Motion is that the rules be so far suspended as to allow for the second reading of R-17-161. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Second reading of Resolution 17-161, amending Nashua Rail Transit Committee.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. Mr. President, this resolution amends the National Rail Transit Committee by eliminating disbandment and changes the date from 120 days of the committee's formation to June 30th, 2018, relative to providing the guidance to the city and further making explicit that the committee should be working with the Boston Surface Rail Company.
You want to make a
And
motion?
Mr. President, can I make an additional motion, please? Thank you. I'd like to make a motion for final passage of R-17-161.
Motion is for final passage of R-17-161. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and R-17-161 is adopted. New business
There
ordinances,
is none.
period for general public comment. No one has signed up. Remarks by members of the Board of Aldermen. I'll start over here. Alderman Lopez.
I'd just like to announce that for the third year, we're doing a holiday decorating contest for veterans, and we could use just a few more people to donate gift cards as prizes. And then additionally, I can't even remember my second announcement. I just wanted to comment that I received constituent feedback regarding the trolleys that the Nashua City Bus is using. There's concern that with the new buses coming online, that the trolleys should be looked at as less useful than some of the buses being decommissioned, because especially during the winter and the holiday when, there's snow, there's ice, there's a lot of water in the buses from people, the snow and ice melting off their boots. The trolleys have steps that you have to climb up and down that are kind of difficult for people with mobility issues who may not be in a wheelchair and may need to use the steps, but may not necessarily feel safe. And those steps are particularly steep. So the constituent was expressing concern that we haven't considered just using the existing bus fleet that we have that we're decommissioning rather than the trolleys for the larger volume routes where there may be a lot of people shopping or traveling to and from. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to start off with an apology to Alderman Karen. I did not make the December 2nd thing at the senior center. Unfortunately, it comes once a year. I traversed another year on the planet. It was my birthday and had the opportunity to spend time with family. But should have probably went to the breakfast and enjoyed that as well, but my apologies. Second, Mr. President, if I may, echo the mayor's sentiments about the firefighters. They do every single year do the Christmas baskets to needy families and the coats for the kids and everything. And, I really want to say thank you. I know I am biased to it, but and been part of it for the 35 years I was on the job. But thank God the tradition continues and the good works that they do. And third thing, Mr. President, I'd like to say best wishes and good luck to the outgoing members of the board. It was my pleasure serving with you all for 2 years since I got elected, and I wish you all the best. And then finally, to our citizens, Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas to all. Thank you.
Alderman Moriarty.
I want to put in a brief plug for the Rainbow Girls Breakfast this Sunday, December 17th, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's at the Mason Lodge on Main Street. Rainbow Girls is an organization for teenage girls, and it's and there's Rainbow Pledges, which is for younger girls. Go online, read all about it, but they have a once monthly fundraiser and get together. Sunday, 8 a.m.
Alderman LeBron.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. And this being a nation of Christians, Jesus is the reason for the season. Thank you.
Alderman McGinnis.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and/or the holiday that you follow. God bless everybody.
Alderwoman Lizzie-Collier.
Yes. First of all, a thank you to the Senior Center for everything they did for their breakfast and their gingerbread competition. And thank you to the firefighters and congratulations to the firefighters at the Amherst Street Station who won. I'd also like to thank the opportunity to thank Commissioner David Lavoie from the Fire Commission who did not run for re-election, and after many years as serving both on the Fire Commission and as a police commissioner for one term, is retiring. So a thank you to him for his service. And I'm sure many of you read in the paper that St. Mary and Archangel Church, the new Coptic church, won over $300,000 in funding for restoration. And I would just like to thank James Vale from the city for his efforts. He talked to us many, many months ago about working on that, and thank him for being successful in helping them get that money towards their restoration. To those of you who will not be returning, it's been a pleasure serving with you. I look forward to seeing you in the community. And happy Hanukkah to those who have started their celebration this evening, and Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Alderman Schoenman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all those here and at home. Thank you.
Alderwoman Karen.
Yes, thank you. Alderman O'Brien, I'll forgive you because Alderman Dow filled in. And I'd also thank the National Lions Club for participating and putting on the breakfast. Santa was there again. But also this year, as part of the gingerbread contest, we got all five of the fire stations to provide the gingerbread house. And one fire station went above and beyond. They went online, learned how to make gingerbread, and actually built the replica of the Amherst Street station. And that's why they won. And what they did win was a cookbook that celebrates the 40th anniversary of the senior center. So that was good. Also want to say thank you. We attended the 47th continuous senior outing on Sunday at the Radisson, and a good time was had by all. They had a lot of gift cards, but elderly people don't like to go to Planet Fitness. we learned. So, but thank you, Mayor, for having us, and look forward to our golden jubilee. So that'll be good. And I'd like to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Alderman Dowd?
Yes, I'd like to wish everybody a happy and a safe holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. One thing the mayor didn't mention, he had a very successful Ward 9 meeting between the last meeting and now, and some of us attended it, and there was quite a gathering there, and a lot of the residents' questions were answered. I was at the breakfast, under fear of disappointing Alderman Karen. But I have to say, I was amazed this year at the number and quality of the gingerbread houses. They have gone way, way above. They improve every year. Next year, I can't imagine how they're going to top it. They were very intricate and very well done. So and I think a lot of that goes to Alderman Cameron pushing the people to be creative. So, and I know we have another meeting in 2 weeks, but if I do miss any of the outgoing aldermen, it's been a pleasure serving with you. We may not have always agreed on things, but certainly that's why we're here, to agree to disagree on certain things and to, in the end, everybody get along. So wish you all well.
Alderman Cookson?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to wish my colleagues and constituents a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy Hanukkah.
Yes, Alderwoman Wilshire.
Thank you. I'd like to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and that's all.
Alderman Lopez?
Sorry, I apologize to the board for forgetting what I was trying to say before, but Alderman Karen just reminded me. So last year, the Golden Shovel contest was pretty popular, so I was asked to do it again. So Ward 4 residents who will shovel sidewalk space in front of their houses in order to let their neighbors more safely transition it are eligible for the contest. Basically, we're going to just judge whoever does the most streets, and then we'll have a voting at the end of the winter, whenever that is, on who did the most, who gets first, second, and third prize. So anyone who's interested in Ward 4 and participating, just contact me for more details, please. And I wish everybody happy holidays and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Actually, Alderman Lopez, where I come from, a golden shovel contest means something else.
The name has now created its own life.
First, on an administrative note, tomorrow at the infrastructure meeting is a public hearing on street renumbering. That requires that a quorum of the Board of Aldermen be present. So I'd like to ask who's going to be present tomorrow for the infrastructure meeting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess I'm coming to infrastructure tomorrow.
We'd love to have you.
Sidewalks are clear.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, or whatever holiday is appropriate. I'm very happy that the batteries in the tree lasted through the whole meeting. Committee announcements? Alderman Cookson.
Infrastructure tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. in these chambers.
Alderwoman Lozigoni.
DC's been canceled for next Tuesday.
Any other business? Is there a motion? Alderwoman Wilshire.
Move to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned at 8:20.